Went to the back. Do what? Okay, well, let's go. Oh, me. Okay, with Todd being out of town, tonight we're going to look at something that, I don't know, there's times that things just pop into my head of stuff that strikes my interest and something that I want to either preach a sermon about or whatever comes first. So since I'm able to teach class tonight, I want to look at two words. One of them is zeal, or being zealous, and the other is patience. I'll use patience if I get to it towards the end. To me, patience and zeal can go hand in hand. And like I said, I'll get to that towards the end. Somebody give me a definition of zeal. Having intensity? Anything. Yes. Yeah. Mike?
I would just, to build upon what folks said, having intensity, but also being really fired up, really having a strong desire.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes, J.R.
Enthusiasm.
Okay. Enthusiasm. Enthusiastic devotion, eager desire, single-minded allegiance is the definition that I come across. What about patience?
Long-suffering.
Okay. What else?
Very measured in how you react. Because usually patience involves you have a choice. You're patient or you're impatient.
Right. Right.
And best time is sometimes it's good instead of reacting. When I say it, sometimes it's best to shut up.
It's one of those, somebody is short-tempered. They don't have a patience for whatever it is. And so, I guess you would say long-tempered is the other way. Forbearance under suffering and endurance in the face of adversity. Forbearance or tolerance. So if you're facing adversity, whatever it is, you've got endurance. You have tolerance. Both of those things, zeal and patience, many struggle with. Yes, ma'am.
Also, patience, the ability to wait.
Yes, the ability to wait.
Not always suffering, but it has
No.
to do with the ability.
Yes, like wait for your wife to get ready to go out. No. Isn't that right, Juan? Wait for you. No, you don't ever have to wait. No. But yes, the ability to wait. Wait for an answer from your boss. Wait for the cashier to get done with the person in front of you. I mean, that's minor things, but I know people that they have zero patience. And it goes down to that. They're standing in line at Kroger, and they can't believe it's taking so long. But the person in front of you is my wife, and we're buying for 4 kids and 2 adults, and then we just got all these groceries. It's crazy that people don't have at least a little patience.
Isn't patience more of a learned behavior? Isn't that something that we have to learn to be?
Learn, yes, but where are you going to learn it?
At Walmart.
At Walmart. I mean, to me, that's something that's taught. It's something that you have to learn, but you're taught by example.
Yeah.
From your parents, grandparents, from the Word. I mean, it's not something that as you grow up, you just automatically, I'm the most patient person.
We want God to operate on our schedule as opposed to us being patient
Yes.
and letting God handle it.
That's where sometimes patience we have the most trouble with is, God, I've prayed to you, I've asked for this, I don't see it. Where is it? And that's, maybe we've got the answer. We're so focused on the answer we're wanting to see, we don't see the. Yes, Roger.
We pray for patience, but to me, the way to get patience is to be put in a situation that you need to have patience.
Right.
And think about, okay, why am I here? Is this one of those times I'm trying to learn patience?
Right.
Because you're not going to learn it anyway. Like you said, having kids, having 3 or 4 kids,
That.
or a dozen in this case, a dozen. Anything, in every role, everything that we do,
Yep.
patience is something that we have to strive for. And I know sometimes I'm going to tell you, I'm very short on it at times.
Well, and I think we all are.
It's not something that you can just say, Lord, I want patience, and I want it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
Well, yes, you can, but it's not happening, more than likely. Kind of getting off topic. There's nothing in our life that's just like that. And we're good at it. Whether it's God's Word, whether it's patience, whether it's preaching, teaching, singing, you have to work at all of that.
We live in an instant society.
Yes.
Where technology has made everything much faster than what it used to be.
Yes.
I mean, cell phones. When I was growing up, we had a party line, and it wasn't on a cell phone.
Right. Right.
Things have changed, but we as humans haven't.
No.
In fact, we've gotten worse, I think, with everything. We have changed. We've gotten worse because we demand things now instead of being patient.
Yes. I mean, it's so bad now if we pull out our phone and we type in, where is whatever we're looking for. If it doesn't pop up right then, we're aggravated, stupid phone. I mean, I don't know why I even have this thing.
Changes your word to another word.
And that's, yes, Mike?
We have to understand, too, that whenever we're placed in, like Roger said, whenever we're placed in a situation where our patience is tested, we have to understand that we are reflecting Christ living in us.
Yes.
And we have to use every moment that we're out in the world as a teaching moment, through example or through word. And, seeing someone handle a difficult situation with patience, a lot of times raises someone's curiosity as to how can they be so calm when all of this is going on around them.
Right.
And sometimes that'll beg a question, and
Yeah.
it gives you an opportunity to explain.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I didn't really anticipate talking on patience as long as I did. I'm impatient to get to Zeal. No, and that's good because that will kind of help me in a little bit when I get to part of the patience I was going to talk about. All right. So when we think of zeal, and we talked about it, it's an intense enthusiasm. It's enthusiastic devotion, eager desire. What kind of zeal do we normally think of? I mean, typically we think we're zealous for the Word. We're zealous for God. We're zealous in our study, or if somebody's zealous in their study or zealous in their work, whether it's within worship service or outside of. Are there any other types of zeal talked about? Talked about in the Word. I know there's other types of zeal outside of worship. I mean, somebody can be zealous and have great zeal for their job, for a hobby. Sorry, who said that? Oh.
There's negative zeal.
Yes.
You negatively want something so badly, you go after
Yes. And the word that I saw for that is more of a jealousy. It's you're jealous to the point of wanting it so bad, which is I mean, it's kind of all wrapped in the same with being zealous, I mean, having great zeal for somebody else's car or house or whatever the case may be. Anything else? Yes.
If you have no interest in something, there's no zeal.
Yes. When I got here, Mike and I and Karen were talking about some things. And it made me think about, I was like, well, hey, that kind of fits in with being zealous for something. If you're zealous for God, what are you going to do? Are you going to just show up on Sundays and only be here when you want to?
No, yeah, you'll be here because you want to.
Because you want to, not because you have to, not because you know that the elders. I mean, we take. It's not really attendance, but I mean, we go through and we check to see who is here. It helps the elders to determine, hey, Mike hadn't been here a month. We need to make sure that something's not wrong. And if there's something wrong, is there anything we can do to help? What encouragement does this person need? But if you have a zeal for God, you're going to want to be here. You're going to want to be around other brothers and sisters and be edified. It's edifying to see people here. It's edifying to see people that are struggling with their health or with something else in their lives, and they're sitting on a pew. I mean, it encourages so many. What about, and the zeals that I'm thinking of, I have 11, and there's only a couple of them that I came up with. The rest of them I pulled out of the front of my Bible, but I want to talk about them, and we can comment as much as our class time lets us. The first one that I want to look at is divine zeal. There's not one of us here that can have divine zeal. Isaiah 9, verses 6 and 7 says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end, upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice, from that time forward even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this." So here in Isaiah it's talked about as a divine zeal. The Lord had zeal for this to happen. He wanted it. He had a eager desire for this to happen. The next one is, it's a glorious zeal. Isaiah 63. Verses 14 and 15. "As a beast goes down into the valley, and the Spirit of the Lord causes him to rest, so you lead your people, to make yourself a glorious name. Look down from heaven and see from your habitation, holy and glorious, where are your zeal and your strength, the yearning of your heart and your mercies toward me? Are they restrained?" The next one, wrathful zeal. Can there be good wrathful zeal? I mean, I agree. Can there be bad wrathful zeal? I think so. Any comment, thoughts about that? Yes. Against sin. Sin in general. Ezekiel 5. Ezekiel 5, verse 13. It says, "Thus shall my anger be spent, and I will cause my fury to rest upon them, and I will be avenged, and they shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it in my zeal when I have spent my fury upon them." I mean, the Lord had a wrathful zeal, didn't he? I mean, according to that verse. So, I mean, we know that that's not a bad thing. The other, and I'm going to use this again, but John chapter 2. In John chapter 2, verses 15. It says, "When he made a whip of cords, he drove them out of the temple and with the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overturned the tables. And he said to those who sold doves, 'Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise.' Then his disciples remembered that it was written, 'Zeal for your house has eaten me up.'" And Christ had to me, that was a wrathful zeal because of what was going on in the temple. We can have a wrathful zeal towards trying to keep sin out of the church. Can't we?
I think zeal can cause, you can have zeal based on rank.
Yes.
Because, like you said, if there's sin in the church, if that makes you angry, which it makes God angry,
Right.
then, but we have to temper ourselves because we don't have what God has.
Right. We have to be.
God. And so we have got to temper that to the point that we don't get, commit sin ourselves.
Right.
in that process.
Right. Yeah, you have to be careful, I mean, of how you go about expressing your wrathful zeal.
It's kind of like when Moses became angry and he was told by God to speak to the rock, and he struck the rock.
Right. That's what, I mean, when we're instructed in a certain way, that's what we have to do. But as long as we do it in the right manner, we can be wrathful. We can be upset about sin, and should be. We shouldn't. We've become a society of, I'm going to turn a blind eye to things, and that does not benefit us or the generations to come, because of us turning a blind eye to sin and allowing things in the church that should make us very upset. A stirring zeal. 2 Corinthians chapter 9. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 1 and 2. "Now concerning the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write to you, for I know your willingness, about which I boast of you to the Macedonians, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal has stirred up the majority." So our zeal, the way that we show it to other people, can have what effect? In both ways. I mean, you look over the past few years, how somebody's zeal for whatever it is, some cause, can stir up a multitude of people for negative purposes. Our zeal for God and our zeal for our service to God and our worship can stir up people to make them ask questions. Seeing us leave the house every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, dressed up, can have somebody say, what are they doing? Where are they going? It strikes some curiosity in somebody. And when they see, well, that's their zeal towards serving God and going to worship, can cause people to think, well, maybe that's something I need to look into. Any other comments? An intense zeal.
I think that, let's take that just a little bit further. Not only that, but I think our zeal for love of Christ and God and everything also goes with how we approach meetings. We're fixing to have.
Yes.
We know that when people from other congregations come, it's very uplifting. But I think we also should return the favor to other congregations. You know, we get to drive in these fancy air-conditioned vehicles and everything. It's not that far to a lot of surrounding congregations that a lot of us never stepped through their door. We didn't know how to get to the building.
Yeah.
And it's just as uplifting to them that it is to us.
Right.
So I think we ought to sometimes think about congregations, other congregations that are trying to stand for the truth. And if you really look around, there's not that many of them.
No.
So what few there are, I think we should really make an effort.
Right. Well, and
I know a lot of times we have smaller kids and stuff like that, but you know, there's still a lot of us that have older kids and not any kids at all anymore at the house anymore. It's not that big a deal. One day out of the week,
right.
we try to go and show them our devotion to the truth.
Right.
And we are trying to support them in every way that we can.
Right. Well, that goes back to, I mean, it teaches your kids, you know, hey, we need to go help support this congregation. And it also, I think, if you've got somebody that's struggling at that congregation, you know, like, man, I'm coming to the meeting, I'm having a hard time getting my mindset of I need to be here. And then you look around and you see, okay, well, they came from, 30 minutes away to come to our meeting.
But sometimes I didn't know that they were.
Yep. That goes to a whole another lesson about not knowing. There's certain things that as Christians people ought to be like. We're different. We should stand out. And that's so. If somebody doesn't know we're a Christian, maybe not necessarily that we're a Christian, but they ought to know we stand out. We're different from the world. But no, Tommy, you're right. A boastful zeal. Philippians chapter 3. I can't see where having a boastful zeal would be anything but negative. And somebody help me if you can think of a case, an instance where having boastful zeal would be a positive thing for the Lord. Because yeah, and I should have defined boastful. To me, boastful is not that. Yes, boastful is what Philippians 3 begin verse 2. It says, "Beware of dogs, beware of evildoers, beware of the mutilation. For we are the circumcision who worship God in spirit, rejoice in Christ Jesus, and have no confidence in the flesh. Though I also might have confidence in the flesh. If anyone else thinks he may have confidence in the flesh, I more so. Circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, concerning the law, a Pharisee. Concerning zeal, persecuting the church, concerning the righteousness which is in the law, blameless." Paul, that's where boastful to me is being prideful. I mean, Paul had from a law standpoint, Paul was it. I mean, he knew the law. I mean, when we talk about having zeal, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, Paul had great zeal, both before and after his conversion. So that to me is being boastful, of saying, look at me. I'm Saul at the time. I've got it all. I know the law. I practice the law. I defend the law. I persecute for the law. You know, as Christians, how many times have you heard somebody say, if you're not a member of the Church of Christ, you're going to hell? Is that not being boastful? Is that a true statement? Not entirely. Because just because you are a member of the Church of Christ does not mean that you're living your life right. Blunt, that maybe come across bad, but just because we've heard it, you sit in the pew, you go through the motions, does not mean that your ticket's punched, you're going to heaven. But how many times have we heard somebody say that to somebody else? Do what?
Y'all think y'all the only ones doing it?
Yes. And that for a long time, you struggle with how to answer that. Because I don't think there's other religions that will. But how far are you going to get with somebody if you say, yep, you're right. We think we're the only ones to go into heaven. That to me is being boastful. Of saying, we have the supreme church. Everybody that sits in our pews we're great.
Well, it always takes me back to Matthew 7, where Christ says, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not? And, you can wear a name.
Yes.
Anybody can wear a name, but it's how you live will determine the measure of your name.
Right. Yes, Roger.
Local churches of Christ have been changing their names.
Yes.
Some of them being known, they're faithful congregations. I'm not talking about some wackos, but some of them that are faithful. There are some wackos. It's not the name Church of Christ that is what it is. It's being a Christian.
Yes.
There may be Christians serving in other places that are called the same. But we don't know.
Right.
But you'll come across churches or, church at, for instance, there's one back where we worship, the church at Mauriceville, a local church of Christ. But the name at first will make you go, wait a minute. But they are Christians.
Right.
Faithful Christians. So that's one thing to say back, okay, the name isn't the thing that does it. Now, it has to be a scriptural designation. It has to be right.
Right.
But just to say it has to be a church of Christ, no.
No.
You have to be a Christian.
Yes.
You have to be certain. Now, where are you going to get that kind of teaching? What church is going to teach you that? That gets you back to
Right.
those churches that are churches of Christ at this point in time.
Right.
And not all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Rick.
I think we've got to be careful when we use that. I was stressed that even as a young person, I know a lot of people that won't listen to teaching because of that phrase. And when you use that phrase, that's a very denominational type approach toward understanding the church. I have people ask me that pretty often.
Like, what are you?
Well, no, as far as, as Church of Christ think that all
Oh.
heaven. And my answer, I like to tweak that to say, that Church of Christ Jesus bought and paid for and died for, that established in the New Testament, yeah. If you're not part of that, you're not going to do that. And they will agree with that.
Yeah.
And that gives you a common ground to start with. And if you have a common ground of understanding, then you can do something. There's been a lot of people turned off by
Yes.
somebody using a statement so brash
Yes. It's either somebody who is a new convert or somebody that is boastful, who is arrogant, full of pride, that says that. I think you have to be somewhat seasoned, and you get seasoned by good teaching, strong, correct teaching, in order to become a seasoned Christian to the point where you can answer those questions in a way that doesn't completely turn that person away from God or turn that person away from obeying the Word. Okay. Ignorant zeal, and that may be some of being zealous in the wrong way. Romans chapter 10. We'll try to go through the rest of this pretty quick. Romans 10, beginning in verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they may be saved. For I bear them witness that they have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and seeking to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted to the righteousness of God. So there can be those out there that they have a zeal for God, but they're going about it, they're not going towards getting God's righteousness. There's a sinful zeal. We won't look at that. I don't know why. We're running out of time. 2 Samuel 21, where Saul... Let's just go back there, since I don't want to leave stuff out. 2 Samuel chapter 21. Verse 2 says, So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Hang on a minute. No, I'll start at 1. Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year, and David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered, It is because of Saul and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites. So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnants of the Amorites. The children of Israel had sworn protection to them, but Saul had sought to kill them in his zeal for the children of Israel and Judah. Saul had a zeal for the children of Israel, but the children of Israel had a covenant with the Gibeonites to protect them. So in Saul's zeal, he was still sinning. So, we can have a zeal and still be sinful. The wrong zeal. And if you can't figure out which couple that I picked out, it's the ones that have simple words before them. The wrong zeal was what Paul had. He had zeal for God, but it was in the wrong way. Unbridled zeal. What does unbridled mean? Unrestrained. Yeah. Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4. Parable of the soils, the sower. Verses 16 says, These likewise are the ones sown on stony ground, who when they hear the word immediately receive it with gladness, and they have no root in themselves, and so endure only for a time. Afterward, when tribulation or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they stumble. Okay, this is where I pull patience into having zeal. How many of us, either ourselves or seen somebody who, new convert, freshly baptized, they've got great zeal. Normally a new convert wants to what? They want to conquer the world. They're going to save every person they run into. They're going to bring so many people to Christ. Nothing at all wrong with that. But what usually happens? somebody rains on their parade. Somebody puts a brick wall in front of them and they fall flat on their rears. To me, it's where patience comes in. As a new convert, whether it's yourself or whether you see somebody as a new convert, teaching them patience in their zeal. Zeal is a great thing. We should all have it. We should all have it for our work, for our hobbies, if we want to. If we're going to have a hobby, have some zeal towards it, towards our marriage, towards the Lord. But to go at it 150 mile an hour is going to do nothing but eventually pop your balloon. Even those that have been Christians for 40, 50 years, you can't go at it like that, or you're going to end up saying the wrong thing to somebody. And they're going to turn it back on you, and there's that brick wall that you've hit. You have to me, and I mean, we got a couple minutes before the kids come running in here. Anybody got any comments about that? Nothing. I'm right. No. That's what I think. That's how I feel about that, because I've seen it. I mean, even when I was baptized, I remember having that a zeal, and then when I failed, somebody rained on my parade. So, y'all can come out. I'm done. Thank y'all very much for your comments.